They saved about $4,000 in taxes year one of retirement because they managed their tax bracket. I'm going to share a story of a family who recently entered into their first year of retirement, and because they took advantage of the progressive tax system, they paid $4,000 less in taxes. Now, this was a one-time savings, but this was a real $4,000. And as the old saying goes, $4,000 in taxes saved is $4,000 in taxes earned, right? So we'll call them Jim and Diane, and I'm going to share their story with you because even though this relates only during certain years of your life, it's ideas like this and some more that I'm going to share with you at the end of this video that can really add up over time. Hey everybody, I'm Nick Davis, founder of Brindle and Bay Wealth Management, and I'm here to show you how to retire with calmness and clarity. If you like videos like this, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so that you see more of them in your feed in the future. Thank you. Okay, so I would call what Jim and Diane did income spreading. It's when you spread out income in different tax years. Now, disclaimer, the IRS wants their tax dollars when they're earned, so you're not taking advantage and breaking the law, but there is a way to do it within reason. And when you hear Jim and Diane's way of doing it, you'll see that it was completely fine to do it that way. So what happened was he retired in the year 2023. He was higher income, so he was making over $250,000 a year, but he retired in March. And so he only made a fraction of those dollars. Now, a lot of people who retire have extra cash saved up, or they have some after-tax investments. Not everybody, but many times they do. And Jim and Diane were going to be covering the rest of the year from those things. They had a RV trip planned. They were actually marrying their daughter off. So we had already planned to cover that through cash, and they had cash for that first year. And so they found that they were in a low tax bracket for 2023. So 2024 comes along, and we know, we're actually meeting here this last quarter about 23. We know that they're going to have to take $125,000 out in 2024 because, they're not going to have yet turned on their Social Security. So don't let that number throw you off, because a lot of times people withdraw a lot larger amounts of money to take advantage of that gap, and then it'll go back to a normal amount of withdrawal later, kind of like in this image that I'll put up for you. It's called a spending hatchet. And in this image, you can see that there's a larger amount of withdrawals that happen during the first part and a smaller amount that happened later. It's that dark blue shape that you see there in that image. All right, so back to that $125,000 withdrawal. They could choose to not withdraw any money in 2023 and just wait to take it out in 2024, or they could take some out in 2023 when they're in a 12% tax bracket, and some out in 2024 when they're in the 22% tax bracket. Now, of course, that's what we recommended to do. We did some calculations and found that, with all their other income and whatnot, they were able to take out about $60,000 in 2023 and still stay in that 12% tax bracket. That means that in 2024, they would only need to pull out about $65,000 in that year, enabling them to also be in a lower tax bracket in 2024. So version one was to pay virtually zero taxes in 2023 and about $21,500 taxes in 2024. But the other version was to pay about $9,100 in taxes in 2023 and $8,500 in 2024, totaling $17,600. And while we were talking, Jim did the math and looked over at Diane and said, "Babe, we just saved $4,000. Why don't we just pull that money out this year, pay the taxes, and stick it in the bank for next year?" So what we can learn from this is that we want to be looking out for those low income years. Now, time is of the essence. I was meeting with them on December 1st. They had to pull that money out of their IRA by December 31st for it to qualify for 2023. But it's something to pay attention to each year when you start to get close to the end of the year. Of course, this is a one-time tax savings, so let me give you some other ideas that maybe a few of them may resonate with you, or just give you some ideas for the future. All right, so there's some other examples of income spreading. So one example would be deferred compensation. So if you have deferred compensation, many times you can take it as a lump sum, or you can spread it out over the period of a certain amount of years. So if you spread it out during a period of years, you're spreading out that income a little bit. The other way would be if you're going to sell real estate. We had a client that was going to sell real estate in 2023, but they looked at their tax situation, realized that it would be a better year for them to sell it in 2024. If you can control the market a little bit, that we don't have any control over, but if they believe they can sell it in 2024 instead of 2023, that's another example of income spreading. Maybe you sold a business and you have a structured payout over the period of many years. That's common for people who sell a mid-size to small business. Another example is to perform Roth conversions. You want to be careful and identify what tax bracket you're in now and potentially what tax bracket you may be in the future, and try to carefully pay your taxes when they're going to be lowest. Another example for Jim and Diane would have been they could have taken that money out in 2023, and had they not needed it for 2024, they could have actually just done a Roth conversion there in that year with those dollars. Another option for those low income years would be to take advantage of tax gain harvesting. So if Jim and Diane were to have some gains in some non-qualified investment accounts, or maybe, like we said, real estate, they could take advantage and maybe harvest some of those gains at a lower tax rate. We had another client this year who had many gains in a brokerage account, and because he had just retired and within the last couple of years, and he had not yet turned on Social Security, he was in that low tax bracket, he was able to harvest many of those gains and manage his effective tax rate to where I believe his effective tax rate for 2023 was like 6%. And that's just an example of long-term gain harvesting. One more thing to keep in mind is taking Social Security after the new year. So if you haven't yet taken Social Security, you're in a higher income bracket this year, you could wait until after January 1st to turn on Social Security, and that's got a double benefit. First of all, that's when Social Security looks and resets your income for the year, so you wouldn't be considered to be in that higher income bracket from the previous year, but you're also delaying Social Security and allowing that to grow, because if you take it early, you have penalties, as you know, and as if you take it beyond your full retirement age, you get DRCs, delayed retirement credits. Of course, there are several different types of tax savings ideas people can come up with, but I wanted to limit this to those of you that are in a moderately high income bracket that may have that gap of window of time where you have a lower tax bracket opportunity. And if you like this video, I recently did a pretty popular video about the best day of the year to retire. And in that video, I give my opinion from a tax perspective, when is the best time of year to retire. So if you want to see that video, I'll link it right here. Hey there, it's Nick again. I wrote something that you might be interested in. If you want to know what my favorite retirement income strategy is for most people or many people, we refer to it as the Money Master Guardrails. If you're contemplating what your income strategy for retirement may look like, I invite you to download a copy of my white paper. Get the insights you need, download a copy today. The link is in the video description.